Hello, students. Welcome back. Today, let us go to the third chapter of the book, the textbook, Writing for Academic and Professional Success. In this session, we will be looking at the different stages of writing. Okay? So before we proceed to the topic of the three stages of writing, let us remind ourselves of the features of academic writing. This is what we discussed in the previous class. Remember the three most important features of academic writing. Academic writing is formal, it is objective, and it is technical. Now, what does that mean? Academic writing is always done for a very formal purpose. It is either as part of an exam, or as part of a seminar presentation, or as part of a project presentation or a research work that you do, academic writing. Whatever it is always a formal context or a formal situation. An exam is a formal situation. A seminar presentation is a formal situation. Research work, research project, case study, all of these are formal context. അപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഒരു കോണ്ടെക്സ്റ്റിന് വേണ്ടി എഴുതുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യം, it can only employ formal language. You cannot have informal or conversational language for academic writing. You cannot use colloquial expressions. വളരെ ലോക്കലായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ പറയുന്ന kind of language is totally not allowed. To just give you an example, of a colloquial expression. Suppose you want to write an essay about the impact of the pandemic and the lockdown on the film industry. Okay, your title may say the impact of the pandemic or the COVID or the lockdown on the film industry. You can never, you may use synonyms of film like movies, cinema, എന്നൊക്കെ. പക്ഷേ films are sometimes colloquially referred, locally ഒരു colloquial expression ആണ് flick. Now, ഒരു research paperന് ഒരിക്കലും the impact of the pandemic on flicks എന്ന് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല. That's a very informal, local, colloquial, kind of slang expression. You can only use words like film, cinema, movies, and so on. These are formal expressions or formal words. Never replace formal words with informal or colloquial words in academic writing. Secondly, academic writing is always objective. What does that mean? It is impersonal. അതായത് academic writing should not be made use of to present your partial or your personal views. Personal views എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, what you believe in. You may be asked to present a paper on something and you do not like that thing. For example, it is about, let us say, about some fruit crop. The climate variation, climate change and its impact on the production of, let us say, some fruit crop, okay, in South India. നമ്മളുടെ പ്രേമം ഫിലിമിലുള്ള സബർജലി, okay, not that fruit crop, anything. Now, you may dislike that fruit, but your paper should never have a sentence saying that even though this fruit has a very bad taste, or even though I do not like this fruit, I will present this paper on the impact of climate change on the production of this fruit crop. ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരിക്കലും പറയാൻ പാടില്ല. It has to be objective. This paper looks at the impact of the changing climatic conditions on the production of this fruit crop in the state of Kerala or Tamil Nadu. Okay, so that is how you present things in an objective manner. Never make use of academic writing to present your biased or prejudiced views. It may be about some kind of election or some political party. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആ പാർട്ടിയെ ഇഷ്ടമുണ്ടാവില്ല. പക്ഷേ when you're writing an academic report, let us say, on the election scenario, you can never express your dislike for a party or your great love for another party. ഇതിനൊന്നും അത് വേദിയാക്കരുത്. So it has to be objective, impersonal, and very formal. Thirdly, you must use technical expressions. And it should be technical in the sense that it should be organized in a set pattern. And also use words and expressions that are specific to a discipline. Remember, academic writing എപ്പോഴും ഒരു discipline ആയിട്ട് connected ആയിരിക്കും. It may be something connected to, let us say, business, or it may be something connected to science, to politics, to human rights. ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു വിഷയത്തിന് connected ആയിരിക്കും. And each discipline, whether it is science, the broad field of science, or let us narrow it down to zoology or physics or mathematics, or maybe some social science subject like political science or human rights, constitution. ഇതിനൊക്കെ you have a specific terminology. Each subject has to be the methodology of each discipline is different. For example, when you're writing a scientific paper, it will naturally have a lot of facts, and you do not have much room there for argumentative writing. അവിടെ നിങ്ങൾ facts present ചെയ്യാണ്, you are defining things, you are explaining things. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സ്റ്റൈലാണ്. And that is the pattern in which you would be writing it. Probably you would be using tables, figures, graphs, and so on. Whereas in a paper on social science, let us say it's a topic on human rights, you may be using a very argumentative style. Avade definition or explanation alla. More than that, that subject will require, that discipline will require you to make persuasive presentations, argumentative presentations, and so on. അപ്പോൾ അതനുസരിച്ച് വേണം നിങ്ങൾ എഴുതാൻ. And similarly, you use expressions which are part of that discipline. For example, if you are writing a zoology paper and it is about invertebrates, you use the technical term invertebrates. This is a paper on the population of invertebrates or the taxon, something about the patterns of the invertebrates found in this locality. നിങ്ങൾ അവിടെ പറയില്ല, this is a paper that looks at the animals and living beings that do not have a vertebral column, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ that do not have a spinal cord. അങ്ങനെയല്ല നിങ്ങൾ പറയും. You're using one single word which is technical and which is easily comprehensible to anybody who deals with that discipline. ഈ ഒരു വിഷയത്തിൽ അക്കാഡമിക് റൈറ്റിംഗ് വായിക്കുന്ന എഴുതുന്ന ഒരാൾക്ക് ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ടെക്നിക്കൽ ടേംസ് ഫെമിലിയർ ആയിരിക്കും. So you do not go about in a long-winded way, in a very clumsy way. Use technical expressions, the words and expressions that are specific to that discipline, and always present it as that discipline requires it. Follow the style prescribed for that discipline. So remember the important features of academic writing: FOT, formal, objective, technical. FOT മനസ്സിലെപ്പോഴും കരുതിയിരിക്കണം. Okay? So that was a kind of revision. Let us now move on to the 3 stages of academic writing. Yes, academic writing, it is not the kind of writing which begins and ends in one go. അതായത് ഒരു ഇൻഫോർമൽ പീസ് ഓഫ് റൈറ്റിംഗ്, നിങ്ങളൊരു ഫ്രണ്ടിന് കത്ത് എഴുതുന്ന സമയത്ത് you do not sit down and think about it for ages. You want to write a letter, you write it, and then you post it. That is the beginning and the end of the letter. It's done in a very spontaneous manner. But academic writing is never done in that kind of hasty or spontaneous manner. വളരെ പെട്ടെന്ന് തുടങ്ങി നിർത്താവുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യമല്ല. It has many stages. It can be broadly divided. These stages can be broadly divided into 3. at least 3. It begins much before the actual process of writing, and it ends much after the actual process of writing. That is why you can consider the important stages of academic writing as pre-writing, writing, and post-writing or revising. Pre-writing എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ whatever happens before the writing begins. Then you come to the process of writing, but it does not end there. It continues to the next stage. What is that? Post-writing. That is the after-writing activities, which may be called revising, editing, and so on. So remember the 3 stages of writing. Let us now look at each stage. So where does the process of academic writing begin? It begins much before the writing process. It begins, in fact, at that stage when you decide the topic on which you want to do academic writing. Either you want to write a paper, or you want to write an essay, or you want to do a case study. It always begins with the topic. So you need to decide what area you want to work on. You need to decide how you want to approach it. You want to decide what aspect of a particular topic you want to look at. No, these are all things that you need to deliberate over. സമയം എടുത്ത് ചിന്തിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. Okay, you cannot just jump headlong into a topic, any topic. എവിടെയെങ്കിലും കണ്ടു, okay, ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് ഞാനൊരു റിസർച്ച് പേപ്പർ പബ്ലിഷ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോവാ. No, it is never done that way. You need to think about it. You need to ask yourself whether it is something that you are interested in, something that you have some knowledge in, something that you can do more work on. ഇതൊക്കെ അതിൽ ഇൻവോൾവ് ആണ്. So all those questions, that you ask yourself, ഒരു സ്വയം brainstorming, it's the later brainstorming where you discuss things with others, അതല്ല ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത്, but you do a kind of brainstorming within yourself, finding the topic, choosing the area, looking at the possibilities, deciding what aspect what you want to focus on, deciding the methodology, all of these. That is when the decision begins, the decision making. So that is the first stage. And then even when you zero in on a topic, ഈ ഒരു വിഷയം ഞാൻ പഠിച്ചാൽ കൊള്ളാം എന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ വിചാരിച്ചാലും, you have to do some investigation. What is that? No, it does not mean collecting information. അത് ഒരു ഇനിയും വരാൻ ഇരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സ്റ്റേജാണ്. Before that, as soon as you decide the topic, you need to investigate and find out what has already been discussed and what has already been published with regard to this topic. ഈ വിഷയത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് വേറെ ആൾക്കാർ എന്തൊക്കെ ചെയ്തു? What have they found out? What have they published? How relevant will this topic be for others? Is there any purpose in doing it? Where should I present it? All of these. ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. എന്ത് രീതിയിൽ ചെയ്യണം, എവിടെ ചെയ്യണം, ഇതിൽ ചെയ്യുന്നതുകൊണ്ട് കാര്യമുണ്ടോ, what has been done, what more needs to be done, is there any gap in the available knowledge? All of these form the stage of investigation. And then investigate ചെയ്തു, okay, you have decided that yes, there is some lack there. ഇത്രയും കാര്യം ഈ വിഷയം കുറേ സ്കോളേഴ്സ് പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്, many have written about it, but there is some specific issue that nobody has addressed. So you will work on it, you will write a paper on it. Fine. But then you also need to understand the purpose. അതായത് കൃത്യമായിട്ടൊരു ധാരണ വേണം. Is this an essay? Is this a research paper? Is this a research thesis? ഇത് ഏത് പർപ്പസിലാണ് നിങ്ങൾ ഇത് പ്രസന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്? Is it going to be published, or is it going to be presented somewhere? All of that is important, because based on that, based on the range of the topic, is it an essay? Is it a research paper? Or is it a thesis? ഇതനുസരിച്ചിട്ട് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേഷനും നിങ്ങളുടെ collecting the information, the final presentation, all of these will change. So have a very clear idea about the purpose of that writing. Then another important step is to understand the audience. You need to have a clear idea about the audience. Is it for a group of students? Is it for a peer group? നിങ്ങളെ പോലെ expert ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പിനാണ്. Or is it going to be presented to a group of a panel of experts, people who know more than you about this topic? എവിടെയാണോ? Who is being addressed here? Mass audience ആണോ? Specific audience ആണോ? Expert audience ആണോ? Other again will decide the tone and the manner of the writing. So understand the audience and then you begin to collect the information. Collecting information is one of the most important and probably the most time consuming part of the pre-writing stage. Before writing, you need to collect all possible information. എവിടുന്ന് കിട്ടും? You can read books, of course. Books would be the most sought after source of information. പക്ഷേ books that you can get from the library, but you can also read newspapers, you can read journals. So collecting information from books, articles in journals, newspapers, other periodicals like magazines, and then interviews, interviews with experts. You can have discussions with others who have worked in the field. And then of course you have the whole array of internet resources, all the information that you can get online. So all of these are important sources of information. So these 5 stages constitute the pre-writing stage. So then you come to the stage of writing itself. You spend so much time before writing, collecting information, gathering, investigating, deciding the topic. ഇതെല്ലാം ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ that's a considerable amount of time that goes into that stage. ഇത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് the writing stage actually may get over pretty quickly, because the writing begins with all the information that you have, which you have arranged in a specific format. നിങ്ങൾ ഏതെങ്കിലും രീതിയിൽ information ഒക്കെ collect ചെയ്തിട്ട്, either in the form of notes, on flashcards, or in a notebook, or in your computer, എവിടെയെങ്കിലും, and then you start writing on your own. All the evidence and information that you have gathered has to be presented in your own language now. അവിടെയാണ് you start writing. And when you write, keep this in mind, you should never stray away from the topic. Keep the writing always focused on the topic. Academic writing la വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. You should not digress. You should not stray away from the topic. Keep the writing focused on the topic. Write only that which is relevant, that which conveys the relevant information. Do not waste unnecessary words on lengthy introductions, roundabout explanations, and so on. It has to be as focused, as concise, and as precise as possible. And you have to throughout be very conscious about your language, the tone, the manner in which you are presenting it, and so on. So that is what is conveyed by that expression, maintain decorum. ഒരു പ്രത്യേക രീതിയുണ്ട്. You have to maintain that decorum, that formality. You have to be formal, you have to use an impersonal tone, you have to use a very polite, a very courteous expression, especially if it is if you're addressing somebody. Do not insult someone else's knowledge in that field or someone else's findings in that field. Always approach things in a very academic manner. നിങ്ങൾ ആ വിഷയത്തെയാണ് അഡ്രസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. Never attack the person who has already written about it or who did some earlier work on it. Always go for the matter and not the person who has presented the matter. So maintain decorum and maintain the formality, the impersonal tone, and the academic nature of the writing. Yeah, so once that stage of writing is done, is your task over? Not at all. Then begins the next task of polishing whatever you have written. So you need to revise, you need to reread, and then make all necessary corrections. Edit. You need to edit. You need to look for grammatical mistakes. You need to do spell check. You need to do punctuation check. You need to ensure that there is no unnecessary repetition of words and ideas. All of these, editing involves a great deal of time and attention. വളരെ ഫോക്കസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ട് ശ്രദ്ധിച്ച് ചെയ്യേണ്ട ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. You must remember that this is going for publication, or maybe you are going to be evaluated on the basis of this. അപ്പം അത് റിവൈസ് ചെയ്യാതെ ഒരിക്കലും നിങ്ങളത് സബ്മിറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പാടില്ല. So spelling errors and grammatical errors are all too common. Human beings will naturally make errors, and with a close second or third reading, you will be able to erase or correct those mistakes. It would also be a good idea sometimes to get someone else to do the proofreading. ചിലപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ തന്നെ എഴുതിയ ഒരു കാര്യം, very often you may not observe the mistakes. നമ്മൾ അതിനെ you assume that there are no mistakes. ആ രീതിയിലായിരിക്കും നമ്മൾ വായിക്കുന്നത്. So especially if it is a very lengthy research project or a PhD thesis which runs into some 200-300 pages, it is always advisable to make someone else do at least one proofreading. നിങ്ങൾ എന്തായാലും ചെയ്യണം, പക്ഷേ one more person to do the proofreading would be a good idea. So you need to do the editing and then rewrite it if needed. It will be important. Sometimes 3 or 4 sentences can be clubbed together into one sentence. We'll read such an example given in the text. വളരെ ക്ലംസി ആയിരിക്കും, 3-4 സെന്റൻസ് ഒക്കെ എഴുതിയിട്ട് the same idea is being expressed. So you can very smartly during this stage combine it into just one sentence and make it very precise. And then after having done all this, you prepare the final fair draft, and then you may submit it. Submit it to your teacher if it is an assignment, or submit it to the editor of the journal where you're getting it published, or submit it to the department of the research center where you're doing your research. Okay, so that submission is an important stage. Yeah. Now let us look at another aspect of academic writing. What is that? The skills that are involved in each kind of writing. As we mentioned in 2 or 3 slides back, we said that each discipline has its own requirements. Each topic even, may have its own requirements. You need to present your findings, your arguments, your data, and so on in a specific way. So depending on the project, depending on the context, depending on the audience, depending on the nature of the work, the academic writing, you need you need different skills. Remember, there are different skills that are important in accomplishing good academic writing. Now, suppose it is a descriptive essay or a paragraph that you have to write. For example, or a science project. It could be, this is where you need to write a descriptive essay or a paragraph or a lab report. Any kind of explanatory writing. Avade endana, the skill that is involved in that is you need to demonstrate your knowledge. You need to understand the topic well enough and find out the relevant data and synthesize it. നിങ്ങൾ അവിടുന്നും ഇവിടുന്നും gather ചെയ്ത information, you have to synthesize it properly and present it in a codified manner. It should not, just be points. ഇവിടുന്നും അവിടുന്നും എടുത്ത points. You should synthesize the whole thing. So this is the skill, demonstrating your knowledge, your ability to understand the topic, your ability to synthesize different points. ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് ഒരു descriptive essay എഴുതാൻ ആവശ്യം, because there you have to define, you have to explain, you have to describe things. Whereas for another kind of project, you may have to do a kind of argumentative writing, or a critical, argumentative, persuasive essay. For example, should colleges adopt the parliamentary or the presidential form of election? എന്നൊരു ചോദ്യം. And you have done some studies on that, and then you write an essay based on that. Avade you can be, you will be argumentative, because you have to debate between two different ways and then find out which is the best way and then convince someone that this is the ideal form of election in campuses. So ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള situation when you're doing critical studies, argumentative and persuasive writing has to be done, or when you want to analyze a literary text, ഒരു literary textന്റെ അതിനെ വിലയിരുത്തുക, ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് what you have to do, you need to have the ability to construct an argument. How do you construct an argument? അതിന് എപ്പോഴും ഒരു critical thinking ആവശ്യമാണ്. ഒരു വിഷയത്തെ രണ്ട് വശത്തിൽ നിന്നും, from all possible angles, look at it not only through the normal angle but through various possible angles. Yeah. Now suppose the task is review of literature or writing a research report. അതിന് വേറെ തന്നെ ഒരു സ്കില്ലാണ് ആവശ്യം. You need to have the research skills, finding out the background information and then presenting it in a different way. You're not describing things there, you are not arguing things there, but you are presenting things in a very analytical manner. ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് research. When you're doing research, you need to investigate, you need to have a hypothesis and then supplement the data. ഒരു കാര്യം പ്രൂവ് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് അതിന് വേണ്ടുന്ന evidence കൊണ്ടുവരണം, and then you have to cite evidences. You may have got the information from a particular source. അത് present ചെയ്യുന്നതിനുള്ള രീതി, these are all research skills. So the skills required for the review of literature and research report are different from the skills required for an argumentative essay or a descriptive essay. And similarly, case study. Case study is an important kind of academic writing. There you need more of problem solving skills. You need to look at the case, analyze its the different aspects of that case and then look for solutions. It's more of a professional attitude that is needed there. Suppose it's a case study dealing with let us say a medical condition or a business problem situation. ഇവിടെയൊക്കെ professional knowledge, professional expertise or professional experience in that field will naturally be the most important skill required for that kind of problem, okay, or case study. Another important point to be considered when we do academic writing is audience analysis. Always ask, when you do the writing in the pre-writing stage, in the writing stage and the post-writing stage, keep asking yourself these questions. Whom am I writing for? What do I expect my readers to know about my topic? അതായത് suppose you are presenting it for experts or peers or students, ഇവിടെയൊക്കെ നിങ്ങളുടെ expectations different ആണ്. What you expect your readers to know about this topic. What do I want my readers to think about my topic? What kind of attitude do you want your readers to have towards the topic? And what do my readers know about my topic? What do they already know? അങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കണം. Because when you're writing it for a group of experts, for example, you do not need to do any kind of explanation at all. അവിടെ നിങ്ങൾ already അവർക്ക് അറിയാം, that assumption കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യമാണ് നിങ്ങൾ present ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. Whereas if it is a textbook that you are writing it for students who do not know, who need to be taught. അവിടെ explanation ആവശ്യമാണ്. So that is how the audience, the target group, is always very important. So let us wind up the session with the last point. After you have analyzed your audience, you need to choose an appropriate voice. The tone that you use for your academic writing. It is very, very important that you remain neutral. As already mentioned, you do not do academic writing to take sides or to express your desires and your partiality or your what shall you say, your likes and dislikes. Academic interest is what matters. You have studied something and you are writing something for others to read. Therefore, it's very important that you remain neutral. Do not take sides. Do not sound too excited or too uninterested about anything. ഇതൊക്കെ avoid you. These are situations that you need to avoid, and it's important that you remain balanced, neutral, and rather than say, even though I do not like this, അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സെന്റൻസിന് അവിടെ ഒരു സ്ഥാനവുമില്ല. So always sound neutral. Never express your personal wishes, desires, or likes and dislikes. And ആ ഒരു end achieve ചെയ്യാൻ one good strategy is to avoid the use of first person pronouns. ഇപ്പോൾ I, we എന്നുള്ള sentences ഒക്കെ എഴുതുവാണെങ്കിൽ naturally you will end up writing about your likes and your dislikes. So avoid that. Instead of the first person pronouns like I and we, use third person pronouns like they, the team, the researcher, and so on. Instead of saying, in an interview with the finance minister, I found out that the budget deficit is dash dash dash. Never say that. In an interview, the finance minister stated that the budget deficit is dash. അപ്പോൾ അവിടെ I എന്നുള്ള sentence words as I use has been taken away. We found when we did an investigation on the banking sector in Kerala, we found that parayarudhu. What do you say? A study carried out on the banking sector in Kerala provided or revealed the following facts or situations എന്ന് പറയും. അവിടെയും we എന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ avoid ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. It is clear that somebody has done some study on it. A study carried out by a group of researchers. A study carried out in the field of dash revealed. അങ്ങനെ വേണം പറയാൻ. So always avoid the personal pronouns and go for third person pronouns. That is one way in which you can ensure neutrality. I'll just read out 4 sample sentences given in your textbook to prove the importance of the third person narration. ഒരേ വിഷയത്തെ 4 രീതിയിൽ ഇവിടെ പറയുന്നു. So look at, listen to the 4 different ways of presenting the same point and you can decide which is the best. The first presentation goes like this. While pursuing this project, I went through a lot of materials from magazines, newspapers, and internet sites, but I found them to be unreliable as they did not provide proof for the claims and they did not give details of their authors. You have a lot of I, first person pronoun I കുറേയധികമുണ്ട്. Second one, when we collect data for a project, we are likely to stumble upon many sources within our surroundings like newspapers, articles, magazine issues, and websites, and so on. When using a source, it is better for us to check if they are reliable materials and see if we get evidence for the claims made in them and if they give us details of the author. We, us, them, we, us, these are all again personal pronouns. Second way of writing also does not seem to be very academic. Third one, നോക്കാം. During the hunt for gathering materials, one may come across a lot of works in sources like the internet, newspapers, and magazines. One cannot rely on them as one may not know if the claims made in them are reliable, and sometimes one may not find the details of their authors. Now, ഇവിടെ I, we ഇതൊക്കെ മാറ്റിക്കളഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്. But look at the way, somebody is trying to make it neutral, but the way that one may find, one may experience this, one may see this, so many one may, and again, it does not sound very professional. Look at the last one. Information available in such sources as internet, newspapers, and magazines cannot be relied upon mainly because these sources do not often provide evidence of the claims made, nor do they mention details of the authors. Look, I mean, see how well worded that last statement is. It's just one long sentence which conveys everything in so precise a manner. അവിടെ ഒരു സ്വകാര്യ കാര്യവും നിങ്ങൾ എടുത്തു പറയുന്നില്ല. You don't reveal any I statements. You don't express any we statements. And no unnecessary repetition. It is presented in a very scientific way. It is presented in a very direct way. Information available in sources like internet, newspapers, and magazines cannot be relied upon because these sources do not often provide evidence of the claims made, and they do not mention the details of the authors. See how clearly it has been stated. So 3 or 4 sentences have been combined into one sentence. You have avoided the unnecessary personal expressions and personal views and presented it in a very precise, scientific, objective, formal, and neutral manner. That is how academic writing has to be done. Okay, I'll stop here for the moment, and in the next class we will look at the ways in which we write an essay. ഈ pre-writing, writing and post-writing stages എങ്ങനെ ഒരു essayയിൽ നമ്മൾ കൊണ്ടുവരും. That is what we'll look at in the next session. Okay, I'll see you soon.